gentrification is like some shock therapy gentrification. It's like, holy fuck, where did that come from? You know, like, there's a stadium here? You know, like, I thought this was a park. Well, you haven't been here in a week, Ryan. You know? Things change. Like in Baltimore, it's really slow in some places. DC, it's like a UFO comes and like starts shooting condos down. Something like that. Right. So, all right, let's get into a happy tale. So, what I was getting at is that land is the like definitive issue, land and the displacement of people in the global economy right now, right? And the global economy is just the globalization of the U.S. economy mainly, right? Or the Chinese economy, whatever country is sort of leading the global wherever it is, right? Like in the Sudan, it's China, right? In Iraq, it's clearly the U.S. And we're putting in place our concepts of how their economy should function based on U.S.'s power in the world. So locally, our land struggle is housing. It's housing struggle, it's rent struggle, it's the right to the city, you know? Who controls what gets built and where? Why do they control it? Why does investors from Utah own a movie theater in my town in Maryland, right? It's like, which is called the Commons, right? So it's like, wow, that's really crazy. And so housing is like the issue, right? And rent. And people getting evicted from their homes is displacement. You're creating a cheap workforce by displacing people, you know? They're putting them into a cycle. Oh, I'm too poor, like I don't have a good enough credit history to apply for a loan or to get, you know, to get a house. Or your landlord won't rent to black people, right? Or like something, there's a structure in place, right, to keep a cheap workforce on hand. So up in Baltimore, I was involved with this organization that organized workers at the baseball stadium. The majority of them were homeless, displaced people, who didn't have access to land, housing, right? And that's how the stadium gets cleaned. The stadium was built with a lot of public money, so. And just right now, across from the stadium, they're building a $500 million hotel as a gift to Hilton. Because Hilton, you know, they're poor. Those are poor folks. And they really needed this. Like, they really wanted it, you know. They were begging. So the city said, okay, we'll use 100% tax funding to buy you this hotel and build it. And it's right across from the stadium. And it's for the convention center. Y'all know about convention centers. Because a UFO dropped one in DC recently. And then destroyed another. It was like, which could have been like the largest homeless shelter in the city. Or freaking luxury condos for homeless people. I would support that. But so our convention center is hurting really bad from your convention center because yours is nicer and it's got a hotel in it. So more people, 50 years in the future, are scheduling conferences at your convention center. So Baltimore is very upset at this. So they said, fuck it, we're going to waste $500 million of our people's money and build a hotel with a walkway to our convention center so more people will be attracted to it. That's all they didn't do anything to the convention center. They built a hotel. So now people don't have to walk across the street because they might bump into like a homeless guy who might ask them for money. And that might ruin their vacation, right? Or they might, I don't know, they might smell some of the chemicals coming from the inner harbor or something, and they might, it might be unpleasant for them. They might get cut off walking across the crosswalk by the light rail, shuttling people to work. So they have a spacewalk to the convention center. This has changed everything, and that was really important for Baltimore, because we don't have many other problems to worry about. We do take your Odwalla juice from the dumpster. I will attest to that. So, what? That was deep.
Just saying, our convention center is better.
So it's about the rights of the city. So the workers at the stadium decided, hey, this is our job. We clean the stadium. We have the right to make what we want to make. So we pushed. This is a song I wrote about them. And while we were organizing, some of y'all were up at the concert when we won the living wage campaign. We had this big concert. And it was supposed to be in this really nice park right across the street from the stadium. but instead it was in a really dirty parking lot, kind of far from the stadium, behind AFSCME's International Union office. No one could find it. Why wasn't it in the park, you ask? Well, that's a good question. It wasn't in the park because the neighborhood association said that that wasn't a concert neighborhood. Meaning, go do it in the black part of town. That's basically what this person told me. Oh, why don't you have it by Washington Boulevard? Oh, you mean the black neighborhood? Oh, that's a concert neighborhood. Oh, I see what you're saying. You're a bastard. Okay. But I had to keep it cool because we hadn't won yet. It was like, all right, these could be allies. And I had this clusterfuck in my mind. Clusterfuck, I learned that term from a guy driving me to Chicago. He said Chicago was a clusterfuck. But that's what I had, because I was like, others might call it a conundrum. I'm thinking, hey, I think the neighborhood association should have the right to dictate what happens in their neighborhood. You know, I don't want to go to the city and tattle and to the bureaucrats in the city and have them impose something on the community association, you know, and get some higher power involved in telling this neighborhood association what can happen. But then I was like, yeah, but what if the neighborhood association is being like racist and classist because like their neighborhood's too nice to have some homeless workers hanging out in it? And then I was like, no, you know what? The workers work right across the street from that damn park, and they have a right to it too. You know, just because it's separated by a main road doesn't mean they don't have a right to that park. They spend all their days there, you know? So it was crazy. And then I was in the park scouting it out for the concert, and I met this dude who used to live in that neighborhood before it was gentrified. Mind you, it was gentrified because of the stadium. And he was telling me about all this shop. There used to be a pit beef stand right here. Before the highway was here, there used to be all this. And I was like, okay, I don't feel so bad anymore. You know, this is new money. This dude used to live here. He supports it. Fuck it. So, this is a song about the United Workers. Early in the morning, the job's begun. Job number 2 starts at 1:45. Take the bus down and wait in the hot sun. You'll be feeling tired from the morning. 2 hours turns the clock, waiting in line at the auction block. Economic systems got you locked, got you waking too early in the morning. In the Immokalee Workers video, they were talking about farmers showing up and can't start work because the crops are wet or whatever, right? In Baltimore, they show up and they can't work because the stadium's not open yet, or they haven't picked them up yet, or they're just not going to pay them for 2 hours or whatever. Or they're waiting to clean the stadium and the game's in overtime, so they can't work yet. They're not paid and they're sitting there waiting. Now I forgot that line. Paycheck comes and it's nothing new. You work 6 hours, got paid for 2. You buy a cheap dinner for your kids and you, and you'll spend it all by the morning. Settling now for minimum wage, waiting for the day when you turn the page. It's bound to happen one of these days. It'll bring a brand new morning. Gonna build power with your working hands, organize and make demands. If they refuse, you're gonna take a stand, and they're gonna feel it in the morning. And once that living wage is won, there'll be dignity and power in the stadium, and you'll keep organizing until it's worker run.